Brother, what I'm seeing, what we've seen for the past few years, fundamentally in this country, and we're seeing it now present itself emphatically in our political world, is a brain deadness, a brain
Yeah.
deadedness. You had shared with me a gentleman. What's that gentleman's name again? Who has the book entitled "Amusing Ourselves to Death"?
Neil Postman.
All
Postman
right.
or Portman? I always mess it up. I think it's
So
Neil. Yeah, keep going, keep going. Yeah, Postman. Yeah, that brother's work was prophetic, dog. And I love his lectures. His lectures are like golden, bro.
right. So I didn't dive in as much as I should have with that gentleman, but I will say this, just the title alone of amusing ourselves to death, that is what's going on right now. Because even you had just articulated and explained to me your grievance with you're seeing like never before children being snatched up out of the street, and you were relating that to what year was that? 1980s in Romania? What year was that going
Oh
on?
yeah, the documentary, Children Underground. It was made in 2001, but yeah, it
Hmm.
was like those 90s street children who were orphaned oftentimes because of the policies that communist Romania had around like abortions, which led to a lot of these unwanted births. A lot of these kids ended up in, orphanages, and then from there, I mean, once the USSR and all of that broke up, I mean, these kids were just left in the streets. And that documentary, though, it just sticks with me because it's one of those things where, when you think about the logical end of this, when you're separating kids from their parents and then possibly shipping their parents or deporting them to, these prisons and countries that they're, not familiar with, not from, right? How do they even find their kid? And how does their kid, especially if they're like a 7, 8 year old, find them? These can end up being street kids in the next 10 to 15 years. And then people will be annoyed and frustrated by seeing that. But it's like this is a product of the policies that uh, the majority of Americans, specifically white Americans, supported with Trump. This is it.
No, absolutely, brother. And it's worth then asking why collectively as a country is this not something that we're all talking about en masse? But when I ask myself that question, the answer to it is similar to just all the other kinds of injustices and unfairnesses. And the answer is we lack community. The answer is we lack a mental bandwidth. And this is not our fate, but rather this is a feature of modernity in America. We are all so distracted and so mentally bombarded, cognitively bombarded with obviously the phones for one. And then you go into the phones and it's kind of like, oh yeah, I know, I know. No, it is no, I know, I know. It should be literally a law that kids should not be able to have phones in schools. It should literally be the norm that just for kids growing up, young people should not be presented with like they have these iPad kids and whatnot. They shouldn't even be allowed to do that. And I'm saying that just as a starter, but even as an adult, adults are fully aware. I just saw this gentleman who, what was he? He was a brainwashing expert. So like assuming he's legitimate, he said that he's a brainwashing expert and that he even notices with himself how
Yeah.
powerful and at the mercy of algorithms and the social media internet interface he is. He's at the mercy of it. My point is, we might all see this as some kind of obvious thing, the way that we know that the internet gets the best of us. But truly, not until I feel we speak about it as if it were the AIDS epidemic. Serious, like seriously. We talk about it as if, no, this is like literally lobotomizing us. Because my point is, all this is going on, and even if you could take your pick as to what absurd, unfair, unreasonable matter is occurring. Take your pick as to which one you want to focus on. And it doesn't matter because you go on social media, you see where people's energy is. People's energy is into just sexual displays. People's energy is are into just tomfoolery, just being completely comedic and jovial, like 24/7. People's interest is in just showcasing and displaying, hey, look at my life. I'm living so great. We don't want to get serious and say, if a significant portion of us is affected, then we're all inevitably going to affect. See, we all think we're exempt. That's the problem. We all think that okay, that's happening to them, but it's not going to happen to me, and that's bad for a couple of reasons. And I'm gonna digress in a second. We don't have community. We don't have a sincere intellectual effort anymore. Like even when I was 20, or in my early 20s, there was more of a sincere intellectual effort. We don't have the discipline. We don't have the patience. We don't have the seriousness. We're lacking in almost every single category.
Yeah, I think the and at the foundation of that, Brett, is the patience and the discipline and just the time and space to reflect on things. And that's where like these media forms just aren't conducive to that, right? You
No.
can never like fully unpack something, fully digest anything because it's always interrupted by some form of entertainment, and entertainment being like the theatrics that you see in the news, the entertainment being the advertisement that you see, just all of those things that just kind of shift your focus from
Yes.
whatever that tragic thing is that you might see, like um, what you see with these, segments about the kids being separated from families or parents through these ice raids, right? And what they did in Chicago, man, going into an apartment complex in the middle of the night, bro. I mean, that was something that was you know that you would see in fiction, bro. It's hard to believe that in a at this point in our social evolution that we would, I don't know, be okay with that and see it and still be fine with it. But it's like we're so desensitized. We see so much of this. We see so much of it in terms of types of entertainment too, where I think that helps desensitize us too. Um, and then, yeah, it's just easy to turn it off and walk away. And in fact, these media platforms help you do that because then it's just like on to the next video, on to the next topic, or here's those shoes that you were looking at. You see that advertisement flash in front of your eyes. So, yeah, it's hard to even get to a place where you could feel the weight of everything and get serious about it because you don't spend enough time really reflecting on and focusing on that particular issue that you're being introduced to. One other thing too, I think, is because we've overused the term empathy.
Mm,
We also just feel like if we feel sorry, like if we feel sentimentality,
mm,
we equate that with like a sort of empathy that relieves us of any burden to do anything. And I think
mm,
that's the other thing. The type of empathy that we have, the way that we use it as a motivating element to like make us be a better person lies in simply our sentimentality and maybe our viewpoint on that thing. But at some point, because of what we're seeing, it'll need to translate to action, and that's the step that I don't think most of us, self included, right, even know how to take or are willing to take. Like we've seen videos of it. We see marches, we see, and people do these things. But even when you see marches today, that it's not. It's more of like a festival.
yeah.
It's more of like, hey, come out here. Dress, do whatever you want. We going It's like a fucking circus, right? And it's not like, hey, we're marching to the Capitol or we're marching to City Hall to protest this thing. It's just more of we're just gonna block shit up. We're gonna yell out shit, and that's just it. And
Go throw rocks at
yeah,
cars.
Yeah, we gonna stop some folks from getting to the hospital. We gonna shut down the highway. We gonna do all of that stuff, all of those things. But it's just like it's not focused and intentional enough. And what you see right now with the moves of the Trump administration and with people like Stephen Miller running the show is that he is much more strategic than he has been. He's still a fool, and we're fortunate that he is, and that he's not as smooth and shrewd as he could be given that cult following.
Yeah.
But it's a dangerous game that we're playing because he's got people behind him who can ratchet it up and take it to the next level and be more organized and disciplined with messaging.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. And then when I think about what would be the path forward, how can we all take the steps to begin to do our part? Like there's obvious when I think about when you just mentioned the ice raids in Chicago and whatnot for the children, this is why I always said the position of, particularly on the right, of being pro-birth, pro yeah, pro-life is nonsense. I always said, no, you're just pro-birth. You want children to be born, but then you don't care at all what happens to them after they're born, as evidenced by this. This is a great example of that point that I would make. And I get a lot of crap for it when I would write this when the people would be anti-abortion, but you don't actually care about children. James Talarico had made a great point I saw in
Hmm.
the video. He said that the vast majority of what Jesus does in the New Testament, or a significant amount of it, where his efforts are applied, is to healing the sick.
Yeah.
He cares about the sick. He cares. Jesus even said, when it comes to children, this is just occurring to me. It would be better for a stone, some kind of a stone, to be hung around a person's neck and to be like dropped into the ocean or something like that, than it would be for them to harm a child.
Right.
Um, the Bible makes it very clear that the meek, the quote unquote lesser, the poor, the
The
sick,
weaker, yeah.
the
Like,
weaker,
yeah, the weaker. Those who don't have power and influence. Those who can't
exactly.
protect themselves from power being wielded on them like a kid. The most vulnerable human beings you'll ever run across are kids.
1000%. So I would love for people to start challenging belief as one of the consistent, because there has to be a lot of fronts, just like in a battle, just like in an overall war, there's many battles, and some battles have different strategies, and some
Hmm.
battles have flanks and guerrilla warfare and snipe. One battle, conversational battle, that has to occur in this war of conversation that's just nonsensical. The sense that has to be brought, the efficacy has to be applied to challenging these supposed beliefs. I would love to see that much, much more, because you say you're Christians, you say you believe in God. Good. Even the demons believe in God and they shudder.
Hmm.
Y'all don't truly believe in God, or you'd be communicating something about these children being affected, being
Yeah,
being
you would have some
abducted
sort of, yeah, you would have abducted is the
is the
word
right
too,
word.
right?
Yeah.
Like it is they're being abducted.
Yes.
And to some extent, I mean, we really don't know if they're being enslaved or what have you, because even some of that happened during the Obama administration, where kids were crossing the border without an adult, placed in these holding camps, and then farmers would come and, you know, adopt them, but really just bring them onto farms and have, indentured servants. But yeah, it's you would have some moral compass or some sort of line that you would not like if that line were crossed, especially
Mhm.
with it being kids, where you would say, all right, enough's enough, and we can't be behind this.
No, 1000%. Or if you are going to double down on your claims that this is the right thing to do, then but you still have to show some kind of framework, implement some kind of framework, implement some kind of game plan, some kind of blueprint that indicates and evidences that these children are not being harmed. These children have a safe place. I'm saying I'm trying to do them a favor I'm trying to do them a favor argumentatively by saying, hey, if you're going to try to justify the necessity of this, okay, but you can't justify the lack of care towards these children, which then because now you're justifying my perception, which is to say that all you care about is just the specificity of a child being born, but you do not care about the integrity of that child's life at all.
And
So
that's the
you're full
thing,
of
bro.
it.
Even that is just a matter of having control. It's being able to control, like men have long, I mean, that's biblical text. It was a means to control women within their societies, right?
Mm, mm,
And control the actions of men, right?
mm.
To set some boundaries. Hey, John, make sure you don't rape my wife, because if you do, now you got to take on that burden. Now you got to
Yep, it's your
marry her. All right.
responsibility. Now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's your responsibility. Now, you getting to do the ramen, and that's all you're gonna see is just mechanisms of control.
Mm,
So, and you bring up the point around pro-life. Pope Leo recently came out, and Catholic Church has all of its contradictions, but he was highlighting, you can't say that you're pro-life, but be for the death penalty, right? Because all
mm,
these people, right, they clamoring for, like the guy who killed Charlie Kirk,
mm,
make sure that he's put in some sort of gas chamber, lethal injection. They probably be down with lynching a firing squad, this group. But then also he said that you can't claim to be pro-life and be for the inhumane treatment of immigrants.
mm.
And that's the thing. In none of these like Christian right kind of ideologies do you see any sort of true humanity in it. It's
I
all a
agree.
means to some end, and it's all about their own economic interests, their own social standing. Um, but there's nothing welcoming about them, and I think that's underlying like the teachings of there's an openness to people who don't have power or
Yes.
influence.
Yes. No, totally. I totally agree. That lack of warmth, that lack of Christianity, it's just there is no clear, obvious essence of Christianity on the right, on the political right, on the right, on the support. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. It's not of Jesus. It's not of God. It's not of the spirit of the text. And I am never going to stop talking about it because you know what it is? Because ironically, even though I am not a classical believer in God, I am a believer in the spirit of Christianity in its most idealized and its most purest form, which is love your neighbor as yourself. And I will admit that when I strive to do so, it's extremely, extremely hard. It is just the harder thing to do for me to be loving and considerate. It's much more easier for me to hate everybody, to hate obnoxious people, to hate the people around me. And so, what Republicans are showing right now is that they prefer the easy route. What they're showing is I rather just and label only. You know, they have the rhino, Republican in name
Yeah,
only.
really. Yeah.
Well, how about you're you're a Chino. No, no,
There you
you're a
go.
You're a Christian in name only. You are that's I'm gonna start. You're Christians in name only. You are
No, I
Christians in
think
name
I
only.
think that we have to start renaming what we call them, bro. Even that term conservative, I think, call them regressives, bro. Because
Yes,
that's what they want to do. They want us to regress. They want to go back in time. There's
yes.
nothing even conservative about it because they don't want to maintain the status quo. They want to burn it all down and take us back. So I do think that we have to be more specific with our language. And that could be, something that's catchy or what have you, but don't allow them to hide behind some of these names. Just like Christian nationalists. Contradiction,
Mm,
it's silly.
yes.
Don't allow them to cloak their just very um, they're white supremacist beliefs within Christianity. Like we
Mm,
just can't allow them to do that. In the same way we can't allow um, Jewish Americans to do that in their support of Israel, right?
mm,
Like you can't allow them to cloak things in religiosity or even lay claim to something because of biblical text, because all of that is questionable. And that's why that's the beauty of Christianity. It's like the most aspirational text you have in Western civilization. You position yourself between the principles of what was established in Athens, right? And Jerusalem, starting with Plato, working your way up to Christ. It's like everything centers around that, right? In terms of our framing for the world. All right, let's push people to be to reach for like the highest, most moral, aspirational goals within that canon, that canon of text. And then let's go from there and let's draw the line there. Let's have the foundation be laid there and not allow them to rename or manipulate things. And that's the thing. Right now, these people are acting a fool, man. And
yes.
they had their the way that they look at it is they were persecuted for 5 years
Mm,
because of PC culture, you know, George Floyd, pronouns, right?
mm.
Gender, all of these things that at the end of the day aren't significant in terms of the amount of what was imposed on them. And then you look at the way that they're seeking retribution, bro. It is just like it's horrible. Like it truly is, and it's violent. And it's like those things just have to be called out.
What do you say to the MAGA is listening to you? Is like who jumps to the conclusion? Oh, okay. Saying all that stuff about my side. What about your side? What about this? What I mean, you just even mentioned some of the elements to it. What do you say to them? Like, oh, so what are you, a Biden lover? What are you, a Kamala lover? Like, how would you articulate to them your stance, your political stance, for clarity's sake?
I would just say that, it's not a matter of loving anybody on the left, right?
Exactly.
But
Yes.
you appreciate what they're at least aspiring to at the moment, right? You at least appreciate the ideals of like being more inclusive, having a more open society, one where you treat others, with care, right? Ensuring they have health care, ensuring that public education, does emphasize cultural uh, plurality, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
like multiculturalism, whatever term you want to use, but something where you're bringing people together and challenging them to figure out how to live in community with one another as a nation versus this conservative approach of like really siloing people, cutting people off, treating your those who you don't have any respect or regard for just inhumanely. It's just really what you see in them is not like there's nothing that you could point to that is actually good. It's all selfishness. So that's why I would just say like really vet all of your positions and beliefs on things and then follow those policies that you are supporting to their logical end. Just like I brought up the thing about separating kids from their parents, right? Deporting their parents. Let's say that kid is a U.S. citizen. They were born here. One, you're supporting people who are trying to, you know, uh, uh, appeal the 14th Amendment. You're supporting people who are trying to take rights away from folks. Um, so one, that's pretty disgusting, especially when you think about we have a country of immigrants with the exception of Native Americans. Like we
Mm-hmm.
all have migrated here either voluntarily or in a, situation with our ancestors involuntarily, but we're all here together now. So how do we try to create, a true union? Um, But I would just push them to think about their beliefs in terms of whatever religious or philosophical um, morals that they claim to follow, and then also follow these policies to their logical end. Because in the case of these kids being separated from parents, will you like a society where, like that documentary that you brought up with the Romanian street kids, where you have orphan kids roaming the streets, begging for things, stealing things, just trying to survive? Do you want that? And if not, what steps will we have to take to ensure that that doesn't happen? I think is going to lead you to move away from a Donald Trump, move away from a JD Vance, Steve Bannon, and the rest of the clan.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I got another one for you too, with regards to the
Well, I'd be
MAGAs.
curious. First, you gotta. How would you respond to them?
How I would respond to them. I would say I love what you said at the very beginning, especially how it's not, first of all, it's not about loving anybody. It's about where my values happen to align, even if it's even partially
Yeah, that's the
happen to
thing.
align.
Not perfectly, right?
Yeah,
But
it's
just
not perfect at
yeah.
all. And I am sickened by the prospect of idolizing any human being, any political human being to the degree to which I see Trump idolized. Especially, I was telling the maggots, I grew up in a Southern Baptist church. I went to church every Sunday for the first 19 years of my life. I went to Bible class virtually every single week. I had a very strong relationship with the prospect of God and the prospect of Jesus and the prospect of the spiritual realm. And I still do now in a different form. And it is just completely incompatible with me to praise, worship, idolize, cosign, cosign, cosign on the behaviors and the principles of a person, whether it's Trump or anybody else, that is so unchristian, that is so disharmonious, that is so deceptive, that is lacking in any kind of actual consistent moral integrity. It's not about when I look at the human beings around me, I my expectations might lower, but when it comes to the highest office in the damn world, I do expect more, and you should as well. And you should also be wanting, if you claim that you're a believer in God, someone who's advocating for harmony. That's the bottom line. What I want in a political figure is somebody who cares about harmony. And the people that seem to care, that I would tell the MAGAs, the one individual thus far that I've seen care about harmony to the degree that I would like is a gentleman by the name of James Talarico. And I tell the MAGAs, I thought James Talarico was a Republican because I've never heard a Democrat speak about God or be that religious so openly and so consistently, and that be such a big portion of who he was. So just to for them to know the party, this fixation on party is nonsense for me.
Hmm.
Whoever happens to be the individual truly advocating for harmony and togetherness and advocating for the decency of everyday people so that they might have good lives, so that Trump was born rich. He's a billionaire. He has not shown his interest in everyday people. He has not shown that he has an understanding of the hardships and the lives of everyday people. Jesus makes it very clear that the rich man is not someone to be looked at with doughy eyes. They're not somebody to even be followed. There's nothing in the New Testament which would makes me think that Jesus would want any human being to follow a rich man.
Yeah.
And if anything, that gentleman who's it, Rick Warren or whatever, it'd be more so somebody that was trying to do like the 90-10 rule where like 90% of their stuff was going to somebody else and they only kept 10%. Whatever, do whatever you want. Wealth hoarders is not what I'm interested in. The maggots will then say, there's all kind of rich elitists on the left. That's fantastic. I care. The name of the game now is who's that person? That person, if they're on the left, the middle, or the right, I would love a new party. I'm sick of politics, business as usual. I feel like this has all been completely perverted. That being said, you think it's been perverted, so you're a fan of just let's get this wrecking ball that just doesn't care. We see what that's leading. No one cares about truth anymore. Nobody cares about facts anymore. No one is like we're a person like whether it's Trump or anybody else, they're bringing out the worst in everybody. You as a Christian, you as a believer in God, as a supreme being that believes that you should love your neighbor as yourself. If a supreme being commanded you to love your neighbor as yourself, and you're not looking for somebody that's advocating for that, I would argue that you are a liar unto yourself and you don't actually believe in God. So that's what it's not. It isn't about loving any of these people. It is about who is the individual saying the right things. And if you think Trump is saying the right things, I would claim that you don't actually believe in God, truly.
That's real, bro. And that's where like even, when you think about that framing, bro, if they claim to be Christians, then hey, open up Matthew. Jesus talked about like, knowing a Christian, right, by their fruit, right?
Yes,
The fruit
yes,
of their effort and their labor.
yes.
That should it should you should not need terms like Christian nationalists to define you as a Christian. People should just see it in your actions, in the fruit, that is uh born of that. So it's like, yeah, it's disgusting and it's frustrating the fact that it's so hard to call out that hypocrisy,
Yes.
because the left doesn't claim to be Christians, right?
No,
The
no.
left is very secular.
Yes.
So the fact that the right wingers claim to be that is what's particularly disgusting. And even the way that you see how they lionize, somebody like Charlie Kirk, and wrap him, swaddle him in that language of like he was a Christian, he lived by his Christianity and all of that. He said these things, right? He used these words, but his actions and his actual words contradicted that. And nobody embodies that more than right now any white Christian who supports Donald Trump. Like it's just like you're being deceitful, you're lying, like you're not being honest. And I think at that foundational level, in order to have any sort of true harmony, we have to aspire to truth, love, and justice. And that's just not present. It's not present, man. And I know the left has its faults, but um, if we're all sincere and we're honest, we see who right now is being the most inhumane and who right now is not even aspiring to live by any Christian tenets.
No, absolutely. And yeah, I, I take great offense to the notion of believing in again, a cosmic being, and then your actions are the complete opposite of the dictates of the commandments of that cosmic being. It's like, do you must believe I'm stupid. You must think I'm stupid. You must think everybody, you must think you're stupid. You must think
Yeah, that's the
everyone
thing.
is
They're
an idiot.
deluding themselves too. Like they are
Yes.
being delusional and not being honest. And that's where, you know what, when you ask that, brother, the one of the underlying things is ask them to be courageous. Ask them to love in a courageous way. Can you attempt to do that? Can you aspire to wake up and engage people in the world in a loving way and be courageous about it? That's what I want you to be brave. There
And,
you go.
and can I just say this to that point, brother? I need to do the same. And I'll
That's
say
it.
to
Yeah,
the MAGAs,
absolutely.
I'm not good at that. I'm not good at like if let's do this together.
That's
I
why I
need to
say
be better.
aspire, right?
Yes.
Because you know that you're gonna fail, but at least attempt to. Don't wake up and root yourself in hate
Mm.
and just disdain for other people. So that then when you see them being treated as such, like you're comfortable and fine with it, and in fact, cheering it on. Move away from that. Grow up, be mature, be an adult, be decent. And then let's see what happens.
Be truly a child of God.
There
Yes.
you go.
So
There you go.